So today I'm going to show you how to use LTspice for integrated circuit design, and we're going to start with the CMOS inverter. Let me orient you though, is that these are the spice decks for the AMI half-micron process. The spice decks were freely distributable from the MOSIS website. And we can see here's the PMOS, and the threshold voltage is minus 9.1. And the NMOS, the threshold voltage is 0.68. All right, today is not about all the spice parameters, but for those of you who've been following along, here are the overlap capacitances, junction, sidewall, and there's even a sidewall under the gate. You should be able to follow that, but those are all just like regular capacitances. Everything else is part of the higher level Berkeley sim. All right. Now over here, I've set the channel length of the NMOS to 2 times lambda. Now lambda isn't the spice parameter for channel width modulation. It's a scale factor from Mead and Conway. So here, and in this case, lambda is 0.3, right? So the minimum channel length is 0.6, 2 times that. We call it a half-micron process because when all is said and done, the effective channel length will be half a micron, even though the as-drawn channel length would be 0.6. Just like Skywater 130, it's 130 nanometers effective channel length, but I believe when you're drawing it in cadence, you draw at 150 nanometers. Anyway, I have a channel width of 3 microns. Because it's digital, I set the channel lengths to each other, and then I scale WP times WN. Notice it's not 2, right? 2 is an approximation. It's something that you can change to make the transients and the switching more symmetric. All right. And then these are the capacitance kind of values. This is depth of drain, and it's kind of the distance you need around the contact, right? And then you have the area, the various areas, and then the perimeter, and that goes into the sidewall capacitance. So this it's a half-micron process. It's a 5-volt process. So we have VDD at 5, and we're just going to sweep and measure the out. And so this axis is V in, this is V out. Starts off low, the input is low. We get output high, input is high, output is low. And we have a transition region, right? And really these switching thresholds are when you cross -1, which might be hard to see, right? Just by eye, right? So you might think it's here or here, but really all you do is you take the derivative of V out versus V in, and you can see where you're crossing -1. So that's roughly -1. So I have 2 volts. So anything up to 2 volts should give an output logic high or interpreted as a high. And then anything above 2.8 volts should be interpreted as a logic low, right? But in here you have this kind of dead man's region, or, where you're not really at a logic gate, but you might be thinking D out, derivative of V out versus V in sounds like the gain, and it is, right? And in fact, at this point, if you were to bias that CMOS inverter at that input voltage, the gain is, well, let's just look it up. -15. And so, really you only talk about, true logic levels and when you're using things like Verilog, right? When you actually start working with the physical part of the circuit, the signals are actually analog. We just interpret them digitally, meaning anything between here and here, we're going to interpret as an output high. Anything between here and here, we'll interpret as an output low. And you can just think that if I had a input signal right here, right, and then I had some noise, right, the signal would go one way or the other. It would go high or would go low, right? And that's, and then if you're, again, more on digital logic, if you're here before -1, the noise doesn't change the state. The gain is less than 1, so you stay there, right? Same thing here. The gain is less than -1, so even if you have noise, the signal isn't amplified. In fact, it's attenuated the closer you get to the supply rails. Now that might have been a little bit much to tell you that this CMOS logic gate is in fact an amplifier, but the more experience you get, the more you realize that that is true. So now, I've talked about crossing this -1 point twice to be a logic gate. And you might be thinking, well, CMOS is kind of nice. It goes high, it goes low. It should be, logic gate should be a logic gate. I shouldn't have to worry about it. Well, let's see. So in this simulation, all right, I'm sweeping VDD, but notice I'm starting at 0.4 to 0.5 in steps of 0.2. And you can see that I programmed it so that the input only sweeps up to VDD, whatever I have. And so now I'm lowering the voltage here. And the advantage of lowering the voltage is that the power will go down. Now, of course, the circuit will get slower, but sometimes you don't have to be blazing fast. So let's look at that. So here is where we started, right? That's the original one at 5 volts VDD, and we're just making VDD smaller and smaller and smaller. Notice as we get lower, the curve gets sharper, right? And actually, we're getting more gain at a lower VDD. Now look, at this time I've plotted the current. And again, it's the current through the whole stack, right? Whatever the current is, the current through this transistor has to equal that because there's no external load. So the power is really just VDD times whatever current, right? And we're assuming that there's no leakage or tunneling on the gate for this analysis. So really, you just plot the current coming out of the power supply, right? And the voltage is from here to ground, because no matter what logic state it's at, the power drops from here to here, the whole voltage preset. So let's come back. And you can see this green line is where it's a slope of 1, V out equals V in. And that's the switching threshold, and you can see that. But yeah, looking at it, you can it looks like it's a minus crossing -1. And you can see that the last one, let me just zoom in on it. All right. If I just zoom in, yeah, there's -1. It's crossing. So it's crossing twice. So we're getting two logic levels, we're getting the right logic levels. And you can see the current reducing. All right. Now, here's the thing. What I've done is actually the power supply is putting the CMOS inverter into sub-threshold. Now, when you're first exposed to MOSFETs, you say, well, if the gate to source voltage is less than the threshold voltage, there's no current. And that's not true. There is current. see the EKV model. This model does it. It's just the EKVs, I think, a little easier to understand. So I have a threshold voltage of 0.68, and here I have a threshold voltage of -9. And you can see that the VDD here is 0.4, that's 0.6. And so that these last three curves, at least one of the transistors is operating in sub-threshold, right? Here at 1, both are above the threshold voltages of their respective gates. But it's even in sub-threshold, right? It is working as a logic gate. It just happens to be slow. And yeah, on this axis, you can't even tell what the power is. All right. So now, again, all of these were perfect logic gates. The point that I wanted to bring up is how to tell when it's really not a logic gate. Well, you push it. So I'm just going to come back and set this to 1.71. But now I'm going to go from 0.1 to 0.4 in steps of 0.1. And, oh, we're over here. Okay. So this one looks like it's working, right? Just by eye, it's crossing, -1. And you can see it is. Then this next plot, well, this isn't very flat, but it could be, right? And so let's just zoom in on it. All right, you might be suspicious of it, but here's -1, and the purple line here, it's crossing twice, so it's real. But now here, look at these last two. They kind of look almost like constant slope up till here, right? So what's going on? Oops, that's current. Excuse me, let me zoom in. So this here, right, there's point -1, and this line never goes through it. None of these ever go through it. And so they're not actual logic gates. They're not working like it at that voltage. Okay, so what do you do as a circuit designer? Well, you can say we need to increase VDD, but what if you can't? You're told you can't. Well, then what do you have under your control? Circuit designer controls widths, lengths, and input voltages and how they're connected, right? So let's make the width of the PMOS 6 times bigger and rerun it. All right, I'm just gonna, this one was already working. This one worked better, right? You can see it crossing -1 twice. Let's see what happened here. So this is, you'd say, oh, it's below -1, right? But it doesn't cross it. It's already at -1. So even though this looks like it could be working, it's not, right? And these still aren't working. But by increasing the PMOS width, okay, and just look up subthreshold MOS and it tells you why you gotta make the PMOS wider. So now I can, oh, that's current. So I can see this one is, the gain is increased, right? It's clearly crossing -1 twice. This is clearly crossing -1. So those were already working. But if we come over here, right, this one was not. See, but now it is. It starts off less than 1. It'd be nicer if it was like 0, but it crosses -1 and crosses -1. So by increasing the width of the PMOS, or we could have decreased the width of the NMOS, it would have had the same effect. Or maybe increasing the length. It's all about drive of the NMOS, right? You could have achieved it. So excuse me. This one is Subthreshold. So I want to just go back to that one. So when I save it and upload it, you'll have the same thing. So really, we start off with the CMOS inverter, right? We get this idea of taking V out versus V in, the derivative, and that there's a gain, and you have to cross -1 twice to get your output logic levels, high and low. We talked a little bit about noise, right? But that's how you determine whether you really have a logic gate or not. Then we explored what reducing the power supply. As a circuit designer, you control the power supply. So if you want to decrease the current, you can decrease the power supply, but it changes things, right? But you can make sure that at least it's a logic gate. And then as an example, right, we did it for subthreshold to kind of show what is a logic gate and when it's not working. And then we did an example, we increased the drive of the PMOS. Okay. So just, what do I mean by drive, right? Is how much current can it flow? So the bigger the width, the more it can drive. So if I increase WP, I've increased the drive of the PMOS. If I increase the length of it, well, now I've decreased the drive. Now, if I decrease the length, I've increased the drive, but we're already at the minimum channel length, right? For the NMOS, right, if I want to increase its drive, I increase WP, or I could reduce the length. But again, in digital processes, you always use the minimum channel length, so I can't go any smaller, right? But again, if I wanted more I wanted the PMOS to have more drive than the NMOS, I could make this width bigger and this length longer. But in modern processes, they're kind of making you use one channel length. They're so hard to, it's so hard to create these FinFETs that you're really, and the basic structure is you get one channel length and then they even tell you like the width. So in order to get more drive, you put things in parallel. So hopefully you'll all enjoy that.